Throughout human history, across different cultures and spiritual traditions, a powerful truth remains: love goes beyond the physical limits of life and death. When we lose someone dear, that deep connection doesn't vanish, it just changes form. The renowned mystic Edgar Cayce once said in one of his remarkable readings that death is just a transition from the physical world to the spiritual one, while consciousness and bonds of affection remain unbroken. It's in this understanding that we find the certainty that, far beyond grief, there's an invisible bridge that keeps connecting us to those who have passed. Maybe you keep the TV on to push away the silence, but no newscast fills the space like your dad's smile did in that worn-out armchair. The clock's hand ticks each second like a heart outside the chest, a black-and-white photo returns a gaze frozen in time, and the smell of fresh coffee fades like a magician's trick. Then, without warning, a cold breeze crosses the hallway, the light flickers 3 times, and a memory brightens one single name. Coincidence? Quiet research shows that more than half of grieving people experience similar things but stay silent for fear of seeming weak. Grief, however, can sharpen your senses like no logic class ever could. By paying attention to these subtle signs, we can bring company where absence tries to take root, without needing costly rituals or old-fashioned words. All it takes is nurturing tenderness, an open heart, and being willing to admit that the universe hides invisible corridors. Sometimes the body senses before the mind can ask questions: a chill with no wind, a light pressure on the shoulder, warmth concentrated at the nape while the early morning wears frost. Each touch carries the signature of years spent together, the exact way of stroking hair, the encouraging pat, the unique way of adjusting a hand. We look for drafts, change the bulb, but the feeling returns just when the memory flares up, as if the presence used our skin to write little notes of longing. Other times, air currents map out invisible territories: a cold spot lingers in front of the dresser holding an old pocket watch, or a warm hug wraps the shoulders even when the thermometer outside plummets. Digital thermometers rarely catch these changes, but the skin swears by it, and the heart confirms. Hospital stories speak of rooms warming up minutes before the last breath, like an invisible blanket comforting those keeping vigil. If something like this visits your living room, a whisper of thanks often strengthens the bridge. When the vigil lets down its guard, the mind becomes a reception room between worlds. Vivid dreams appear, saturated with color, smell, and texture, where wrinkles, voice tone, and the weight of the embrace are clear, as if both shared the same pillow. Waking up may bring tears, but also relief, a message delivered with a seal of peace. Keeping a notebook by your bed turns these visits into a map. Scribbled lines before sunrise show patterns the day's rush would erase. Sometimes objects speak louder than words. The favorite pen falls without shaking, the lost bracelet pops up in a forgotten pocket, a photo slides from the frame the very moment you say the name it shows. Researchers call this meaningful displacement. When logic stumbles over the dance of coincidence, the heart recognizes the handwriting of someone writing from beyond. Interestingly, these shifts prefer symbolic dates: 7 days, weeks, or months after the funeral, as if longing expressed itself in living math. It's hard to ignore when the kitchen clock falls at exactly 7 in the evening, glass intact, and silence lights up in a nod. Preparing the ground helps. Reduce screen time before bed, let fresh air in through the window, place something symbolizing the person in a place of honor. Simple gestures tune the internal antenna. Don't expect fireworks, because often a sudden thought with a foreign voice already confirms the bridge. Acknowledge it, be grateful, and move on. Even longing needs movement so it doesn't turn into a statue. If any of these signs cross your routine, share gently. Stories multiply courage and break down walls of skepticism. If nothing's happened yet, be patient. Spiritual presence grows in the rhythm the heart can handle, not the stopwatch of hurry. Close your eyes for 3 seconds and silently ask, "Can you hear me?" If a shiver answers, accept the invitation, because those who love find any gap in the noise of the world to whisper, "Hey, I'm still around." Suddenly, everything conspires to remind you. His favorite song bursts from the taxi radio just as the longing tightens. A bus's glowing sign shows, without reason, the same 2 syllables of a nickname only family used. The dashboard clock, impassive, marks 11:11, as if obeying orders from an invisible pulse. Jung called these unlikely choreographies synchronicity, while Edgar Cayce, more poetic, spoke of clues sown by affection. Terminology aside, the shiver running up your skin knows before any dictionary, when three impossible details align with Swiss clock precision, there's someone on the other side of the veil paying attention to your thoughts, and ready to answer. The sense of smell isn't far behind in opening portals. On regular nights, a perfectly clean hallway may suddenly fill with the scent of gardenia your mother wore to church. In the kitchen, an unmistakable aroma of coffee with cinnamon, your dad's signature, who preferred waking the family with smell before words, lingers for a few seconds and disappears as you finish inhaling. Neuroscientists remind us that odor molecules cling to fabrics, but no lab explains why fragrance appears right when memory tightens or when the heart silently asks for comfort. Some feel a hug when they take a deep breath, others just smile, like finding a folded note under the door. Lights seem to speak the same secret language. The lamp blinks 3 times as your mental prayer ends, as if confirming the message was received. The phone screen wakes itself and shows a wedding photo. Though no notification arrived, the hallway light goes off and on again even after the wiring was replaced recently. Engineers blame power surges, but technical reports don't predict coincidences so precisely timed to the moment a thought rests on the same name. Cayce believed electricity was a practical shortcut for disembodied consciousness, just a tiny pulse is enough to shake our attention amid everyday noise. Watching how often lights flicker, and, above all, the emotion they bring, helps notice when the flash is actually a gesture of tenderness coming from afar. Beyond electronics, nature also offers itself as messenger. A blue butterfly rests on the steering wheel while the traffic light stubbornly stays red. It flaps its wings slowly and flies off exactly when it turns green, as if giving permission to go. A hummingbird hovers by the window the moment you set down the favorite plate of the one who left. An unknown dog accompanies the whole walk, keeping a respectful distance, and disappears when you cross the gate, like following a prearranged script. Ancient peoples read messages in bird flights. Those who live today, if they allow stillness, will realize these rare encounters carry a very specific kind of peace. A whisper of thanks is usually enough to seal the message. Sometimes the message ignores the outside world completely and bursts from within, as crystal clear intuition. You wake up convinced that the answer to that job interview will come before the day ends, and it does. You decide to change your route for no logical reason, just because something whispers better this way, and later find out you avoided a traffic jam caused by an accident. Psychologists note that after big losses, the rational mind relaxes control, making space for subtle perceptions. Those who experience it describe the feeling of a light hand guiding the shoulder, even when no one else is there. Recording dates, thoughts, and results helps tell anxiety from message. When hits add up, the bridge confirms itself strong. Neon-bright coincidences, fragrances crossing walls, lamps chatting in sparks, animals appearing as winged mail carriers, and hunches guiding without a map create a mosaic of small daily miracles. They rarely arrive all at once or with the same intensity, but every piece that fits loosens the knot of absence and turns loneliness into silent conversation. It's worth keeping a simple notebook, or your phone's notes, to gather these flashes. Little by little, the record becomes a constellation of signs visible only to those who accept to connect the dots. If any of these experiences have reached you, share them in the comments. Intertwined stories light up dark hallways and show newcomers that they're not losing their minds, just tuning their listening. If nothing's happened yet, there's no need to rush. Seeds of presence grow in the pace the heart allows. A light tap on the like button or a quiet subscription to the channel keeps the wheel turning and spreads comfort where grief still hurts. Small acts of support sustain the harvest of stories that, together, prove love knows no boundaries. Before getting back to your routine, close your eyes for a few seconds. Feel the air brush your nostrils, slowly count 3 heartbeats, and notice the quiet pause between each one. If a sudden breeze rises up your neck, don't rush to brush it away. Maybe it's just life patiently reminding you that no goodbye is ever final. When you open your eyes, the room will look the same, but something inside you will feel a little lighter. And, when you least expect it, another sign will appear, subtle but undeniable, reaffirming that the light of those we love stays lit even after the body falls silent. You already know that omens can pop up on the radio, in the light bulb, in the flight of a bird, or in a shiver that sneaks up without asking. The next step is learning how to tell noise from message and, above all, turning every sign into company, not a shock. Start by looking inward. Your whole body is a delicate seismograph. When something in the air changes density, it registers it before your mind can label it. So, take little moments of silence throughout the day. 5 deep breaths, eyes closed, back straight. Notice the weight of the air on your skin, the temperature behind your ears, any tingling spots. If, during this brief retreat, a clear memory of someone who's gone appears, treat it like a visitor, not a distraction. A small smile or a quiet "I'm okay" inwardly said is enough to keep the conversation gentle. Then, try to care for your physical space like you're welcoming an expected guest. It's not about a fancy altar, a photo in a lit corner, something that belonged to the one who's gone. A scented candle lit now and then already creates a welcoming station. These little rituals remind your subconscious that communication is possible and soften the rigid logic that insists on separating worlds too much. When you light the candle, think grateful thoughts. The flame becomes a beacon. According to Cayce, anything vibrating with gratitude boosts the connection frequency and shields against confusing interference. Just keep the candle away from curtains. Practical care is part of the magic too. To interpret dreams, drop the idea of decoding ready-made symbols from charts. Your unconscious speaks a language all its own. A staircase might mean going up or just the shortcut you used at your childhood home. When you wake from a vivid dream, jot down what you felt, not just what you saw. Ask yourself, did I wake up feeling light or melancholy? Was there advice, a goodbye, a blessing? Often, the emotion is the whole message, the images are just the wrapping. If similar dreams keep showing up, compare dates, the anniversary of the person who passed, a change of season, Day of the Dead Sunday? Chronological patterns reveal cycles of mutual care. Remember that pushing for the visit to come back usually shuts the door. It's better to live your day normally and keep your notebook open by your bedside as a polite invitation. Synchronicities deserve the same kind of attention. Write down each unlikely sequence, the repeated triplet of numbers, a name that pops up like a weed in different conversations, a news story that answers a personal question asked just minutes before. In a few weeks, your notebook will turn into a constellation. Some isolated stars might seem unimportant, connected by an imaginary line. They tell a story only you understand. And the more you recognize the pattern, the more it shows up, as if saying, now that you see me, I can speak louder. When it comes to scents, there's a simple exercise to sharpen your nose. Every night before bed, breathe in the smell of something that reminds you of safety, a drop of lavender, eucalyptus oil, fresh coffee if the kitchen allows. While you inhale, recall a happy moment with the person who's gone, then slowly exhale as if giving back some affection. This practice creates an olfactory bridge. Throughout the day, when a vaguely familiar scent drifts into the room, your brain connects it and lights up an alert. It's time for full attention. Many people who try this say they actually smell the characteristic scent of their grandmother or late partner shortly after, as if the new scent bridge is being traveled in the opposite direction. For electrical signals, set up a code. They say Thomas Edison researched devices to talk to spirits while he was alive. He never finished the project but left a valuable idea. If the beyond can reach buttons and light bulbs because they respond to subtle energy pulses, we can simplify the conversation. Pick a bulb you rarely use, maybe the living room lamp. On a quiet morning, say out loud, if you're near, blink once this week. Drop the expectation, not the lamp. If it blinks, mark the date. If not, try again next month. The goal isn't a show but tuning patience. Most of the time, the signal comes when you've already forgotten the request, proving the initiative came from the other side, not your anxiety. Messenger animals need a different kind of noticing. Make it a habit to observe who shares your daily path. A dog barking at just any passerby doesn't count, but if it only barks when you mention a certain name, write it down. Butterflies, birds, and colorful insects are classic visitors, maybe because their lightness makes them easier to approach. If an animal lands on you and stays longer than usual, remember to say thanks. That simple gesture recognizes nature's effort to dress a message with wings or paws. Then gently let the animal go. True love doesn't trap the messenger. Intuition, finally, is the rust or the polish on all these other signs depending on how you treat it. If you suffocate it with hyper-rationality, it becomes rough noise. If you care for it gently, it becomes a compass. A short meditation helps. Sit down, close your eyes, find your pulse at the wrist, and count 10 beats. At the end, silently ask, "What step will bring me peace today?" The answer won't come like thunder. Maybe it shows up as a desire to call someone, visit a park, or delay a purchase. Follow the modest impulse. When the choice fits perfectly, write it down. Soon you'll realize that quiet voice is speaking all the time and never gets it wrong, sometimes lifting your life, sometimes softly blowing advice from those who've already crossed the river. And if, despite all these exercises, nothing shows up, remember that every relationship has its own frequency. Some bridges are wide, lit, and busy. Others are thin walkways swaying in the wind, demanding slow steps. Don't force the structure. Keep honoring the memory through concrete actions. Donate something in their name, plant a tree on their birthday, smile telling an old joke again. Material gestures support the invisible and eventually give your heart the certainty that the story shares new pages, no matter how invisible the ink. When you notice the knot of longing loosens without you realizing it, maybe you'll understand the silent miracle. Love doesn't cross time to stand still, it travels to remind us that life, in any form, is meant to flow. If during a nighttime walk a breeze with no origin moves your hair and sparks your memory, trust it. If the radio plays that song exactly when you need courage, sing along. If the smell of cake fills your room at 4 in the morning, smile and say, "I felt that." Every recognition sets the gears turning and, as a bonus, honors the one who sent the sign. If these words resonated with you, leave a comment sharing the most unexpected moment you felt accompanied. Your story might be the key for someone still searching for a door. And if you find it useful, hit the subscribe button. That way the algorithm knows comfort should travel farther, sewing new bridges where pain still raises walls. Then close this tab, breathe slowly, and feel your chest expand. Under your skin, between two heartbeats, pulses the same energy that moves constellations and lights memories. There, the echo of who you love stays alive, clearing the way through the dark like a patient firefly, small but impossible to put out.